Gentlemen, today we're going to be talking about what is, well, let's admit it, probably one of the most driving forces of everything that we do. Women. Today on Big Pretty Man. Hi, and welcome back to Big Pretty Man, the channel for the extra large man who wants to live his life large and in charge. I'm your host, Timothy Big Pretty Crowe. I'm a wardrobe and lifestyle consultant for the extra large man. All right, gentlemen, I'm going to start off this video by first stating that I am about 5'8". I weigh about 330 pounds. I'm basically a barrel of a man. However, this very lovely woman is my girlfriend. Now, I put this picture up not to brag, but basically for two reasons. Number one, I was obliged to do it. By her, just to let everybody know that I'm off the market. You got to keep them happy, guys. It's rule number one. You got to keep them happy. Okay. And number two, even more importantly, is to show that contrary to myths and some people's beliefs and some things that the media says, extra large men can and often do have intimate and and strong relationships with what you may consider a very beautiful woman of any shape or size, whatever your type. It is very possible, and it's very common. That's what But however, as I talked about in my earlier video on how for skinny people with extra large friends, it is a common myth out there that extra large people, be male or female, are lonely and cannot get dates and don't have relationships. Well, that is just observably not true, and it's a rather stupid myth. If you look around, go to any mall, go walking around any park, go in somewhere, anywhere in public, up on the beach, you're going to see heavy-set people with skinnier people in relationships, or you're going to see big people in relationships with other big people, but you're going to see big people in healthy relationships and some not so healthy relationships, but in relationships. So this is a myth. I think it's another thing that is a myth is that all women are only looking for the physical. That you have to be this perfect, chiseled, fit man for a woman to have interest, and that's not true either. In fact, there's a gentleman that went around with a camera and he filmed women, asking them the question as to what were the things they look for most in men, and especially when a man approaches them. And contrary to popular belief, very few to practically none said, I'm looking for a guy that's just absolutely fit and handsome. No, it was the top things that they talked about was, a man who was a good conversationalist, a man who was well groomed, a man who was kind of put together, a man who with a sense of humor. Now, true, some of this may have been these ladies trying not to look shallow and narcissistic, but when it's repeated over and over and over again and dozens of times, then you can find some credence. Now, one thing I want to start off by saying is that about 80% of my life, I have been a heavy or a big or a fat man, however you want to put it. However, in my 51 years walking this planet, especially after high school, I have never went without the company of women, ever. I mean, I've dated, I've had girlfriends, multiple girlfriends. I've been married 2.5 times. The 0.5 is it's a little complicated. Let's leave it at that. I've dated women of all different sizes. So I've skinny women, bigger women, in between. I've even dated a couple of models. And as I said in my earlier video, they were way too thin. But I'm not saying this to brag. I'm just trying to state this as obvious proof that extra large men can and do have intimate relationships and can get dates. And it's that the weight does not have to be a deterrent. I'm not alone. There are plenty of big men out there who have, who are in relationships, and not only in relationships, are in relationships with what they consider, and many consider, a very beautiful woman. It is very possible. Now, there are a lot of channels out there for people claiming to give advice, dating advice, and saying, "Oh, I guarantee if you follow these steps, you will find the love of your life. You will get dates. You will get all these sexual encounters." And quite frankly, anybody that tries to guarantee that are either fooling themselves or they're trying to fool you. Maybe to sell some product, maybe just to up their memberships, their subscriptions, whatever. But people are far too individual. Both men approaching women and women that you would approach. For any type of perfect package to work for everybody. There's nothing universal. However, I think in my 51 years and having played the field, hell, I own a section of it at this point. I have figured out, just through experience and trial and error, a few tips that and perspectives that will help you, I believe, to both approach women, to meet women, and and possibly get dates with women. Now, can I absolutely guarantee that? Of course not. But I do think it will help your chances. Now, so I am going to give you 5 basic tips on how to engage and possibly get dates with women. Okay, number 1, and this one is the most important of all. It is the one that overrides everything. It defines everything. And I'm sure you've heard it before, but you're going to hear it again because you need to hear it again. And that is to be confident. Say it again. Be confident. I've found that most of the issues that bigger men have when it comes to dating or meeting women, are also in just about any other aspect of life, is lack of confidence. It is a lack of good self-esteem, having bad self-esteem. It is that holds them back from they're wanting to achieve. And it's really so unfounded. Let me tell you, what you put out there is what you're going to get reflected back. And if you're putting out there that you are, I'm unattractive, I'm not, worthy of, and all of this, that's what you're going to get back. People are going to treat you that way because that's what you're putting out there. So it's very important for you to be confident and not allow it to hold you back. Now, I'll tell you a quick story and a personal one. When I was in high school, for most of high school, I was a very heavy-set kid, and at that time, it did affect me. I had, teen years are hard enough. But being a heavy-set teen makes it even worse. I thought I was horribly unattractive. I thought that women, the girls were never going to like me. And of course, I had gotten the teasing and all of that, as most heavy-set kids had gotten. I was kind of immune to that, but it had taken its toll, and I started to believe this. Well, between the sophomore and junior year, I lost over 100 pounds. And so when I return to my junior year, to the same kids that I went to school with, I looked completely different, But what I found out, and yes, I did start getting the interest of females after a while. Actually, most were kind of a little standoffish. They didn't know what to say. But when they did start to relax and come around me, I found out something that absolutely blew my mind. Several of the girls in school had come and told me when I started approaching them, because now I had some confidence, that they was like, Tim, I was actually always interested in you, and actually I'd even told people that I would like to date you, that and I even tried to let you know, but you never seemed to have any interest. You never seemed to react. Now, at first I thought, and I think some of them were trying to kind of butter up to me to try and smooth it over, that because I'm not going to brag, but once I thinned down, I actually was a pretty cute boy, a pretty cute young man. I kind of had a Kiefer Sutherland from Lost Boys look going on. So I think some were also trying to get in that way. But but when I started thinking back on a few of them, back on some incidents, I started realizing that, oh my God, they were flirting with me. They were trying to let me know. and I just it was like dog whistle. I couldn't hear it. And why couldn't I hear it? Because I couldn't get past my own low self-esteem. It was blocking my vision. It was blocking my perceptions. And who was blocking it? Was it they blocking it? No, I was doing that. So, and a lot of you out there are still doing that. And so therefore, having confidence in yourself is the most important thing that you can do for your career, for your love life, for your life in general. And now, when I say be confident, I don't mean to be cocky. Being cocky, or arrogant is not going to help. That's going to be a turnoff. That's going to be the opposite of the spectrum. No woman wants to deal with a cocky man. So, but you still need to be confident when you approach a woman. Now, it's kind of a tight wire. How do you be confident but not overstep into being arrogant? I think it's how you have to define confidence. I define confidence as knowing realistically your own self-worth. Know what you bring to the table. Know what the good qualities that you have to offer. You got to look at yourself and be like, you know what? Yeah, I'm a big guy. You have to recognize your faults, but you also have to recognize your strengths. And you got to look and say, yeah, I'm a big man. A lot of people don't like that. But you also got to say, you know what? I got a good job. I make a good living. I'm a good person. I take care of my family. I take care of my business. I'm kind to people. I'm a funny guy. I'm an engaging person. I'm an intelligent person. I'm a well-dressed person. You've got to look at, you look at yourself that way and be like, this is what I have to offer. And what I have to offer is of worth. You have to know your own self-worth. So therefore, when you see a beautiful woman out there, or you see a woman that interests you, and you want to walk up to her, remember, it's not just you trying to get her approval. You're appraising whether this is a person you want to date, whether you want to go out. You can walk up and talk to her and she could be horrible. Remember, and men do this far too often too, where they try to make themselves worthy of a woman. Women have these same issues, but we're not talking about them. We're talking about for the guys. But you're trying to fit into their mode, what they want. Try to satisfy them. Hey, when you're doing that, you're denigrating your own self-worth. This is a two-way street. You're also trying to see if this is somebody that is worthy of what you bring to the table, and you got to approach it like that. Not cocky, not bragging, not arrogant. Just, hey, this is the package I got, and it's not a bad package. Are you interested? It's got to be the basic attitude. I may not be the greatest thing in the world, but I do have some self-worth. If you come with that type of approach, you're not going to come off as arrogant. You're not going to come off as cocky. You're going to come off as a confident man who is confident in his skin, and that's a very important thing. Women, just about, like I said, that gentleman that did the film, they all say the same thing. They like a man that is confident, a man that will approach them, a man that has a little bit of push about him, a little bit of drive in him. And he walks up to you with all the confidence in the world that, hey, you are going to go, that this woman is going to go out with me, Why? I'm a worthy man, and I'm presenting myself to you. That's a very powerful thing. That right there says a lot. Now, and that should override all the rest of my recommendations. Now, the second thing that I would recommend is that to always be well groomed and well dressed. Now, you see in my videos, I'm always talking about how you dress and all of this, and I'm not necessarily always talking about being in business attire or business well dressed. You don't have to be walking around in suits and blazers and ties all the time, of course. But even in your casual dress, it is important that you look put together, that you look coordinated, and that you look stylish. You got to look like you've put some attention into the way you look. And that's going to have even more of effect than if you were like, this perfect athlete trust me, you know, with this perfect body. Because trust me, if a guy with a perfect body is wearing a bunch of drab clothes hanging off him, looks like he dressed out of his laundry hamper, it does have an effect. Women are going to, that's one of the things that all of them say is that one of the first more physical things that they look for is how well you're dressed, how you're put together. So, you know, therefore it's very important. People, you know, guys be like, oh, I'll dress up when I'm going out to an event, or I'm going to a club, or I'm going something like that. But, you know, I can't live like that. I can't every time, like when I go to the grocery store, I can't, you know, I want to just throw on something comfortable. Yeah, well, guess where you're probably going to meet most women? You're not probably going to meet them in the club. And I want to talk about that later on. But, you know, most people meet people out and about. I mean, women go to the grocery store. Women go to the laundromat. Women go to the bookstores. You know, they go to these they go to get their car fixed. So, therefore, you have to always be prepared for that type of encounter. I mean, what is worse than if you say you have to go to the grocery store, you throw on some sweats and a t-shirt, a baseball cap, and old sneakers, and if there's a stain on anything, even more kudos. And you get in there, and all of a sudden you see this beautiful woman who has no wedding ring. You can tell by her shopping cart that what she's getting, she's most likely a single woman. And, you know, but then, and you think about approaching, then you're like, oh my God, I look like a homeless person. And yes, it's going to be detrimental, because that first impression, dress is more important than physique. It really is. It makes a bigger difference. And every survey of women have given, everything I talk, they will all tell you that. Even these ones that give advice on dating, they all say, look well groomed, well put together. So it's very important. So every time you go out, always have in mind, I don't know who I'm going to meet. So therefore, I better kind of dress for it. Take that extra time, take that extra moment to get that done. Okay, now the third thing that I'm going to recommend is when you do see a lady that you find attractive, she doesn't look like she's married, doesn't look like, you know, you don't know if she's in a relationship, you need to establish that, and you do approach her. You need to be engaging. Now, when I say be engaging, it does help if you have charisma. However, I'm of the belief that charisma is something you really can't teach, and if it can be taught, I wouldn't know how. Now, charisma is defined as having a charm that gets devotion and favors from other people. And, you know, I think that's a lot of times that's something that I think you're just born with. Now, me personally, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of quick-witted. You know, I have a good sense of humor. I actually did some stand-up in my younger days. And then did some improv, which makes me think a little quicker on my feet. And if you have a sense of humor, that's a big thing. But if you don't have a sense of humor, if you don't have the gift of gab, then I'm going to give you a few pieces of advice that will help. You do need to be engaging. You know, when you walk up, do ask, you know, start a conversation. Don't just jump straight at trying to flirt. Start a conversation. You know, look for something. When I see a woman out, if I'm single, and I'm looking for, you know, and I'm kind of on the prowl, or at least open to options, and I see a woman out, and I'm thinking, I want to talk to her. My first thoughts are not, oh my God, I'm a big fat guy, she's a beautiful woman, she ain't gonna be interested. No. My second thought is not, oh, I'm dressed like a bum, because I don't dress like a bum. I'm well dressed. My first thought is, okay, how can I approach and how can I start a conversation? What is she doing? What's going on that I can use as some sort of small talk conversation piece to slip in? That's what I'm first thinking. You know, as far as confidence, for me, that's not an issue. I'm going to step in there because, you know, hey, what's the worst thing that can happen? She's not going to say, I'm not interested. Or even worse, she'll be like, oh, get away from me, you fat, ugly thing. You know what? That's fine. That tells me, once again, my own self-worth, that if she's got that type of attitude and she'd be that rude to a stranger who's being polite, then I don't need, then she wasn't worth the time. Thank you. You just saved me, a headache. So, and you step off. My ego is healthy enough, and my self-esteem is healthy enough to take that type of blow. It's not going to affect me and how I see myself at all. And don't let anybody affect how you see yourself. But yes, you do need to be engaging. So, what I would say is whatever she's doing, start thinking of something to bring it up. If I saw a woman in a grocery store and she's trying to get something, I'd probably say something about the product. It's like, wow, it looks like the raw milk, huh? Whatever opens that door up. Now, after that, if you kind of got to, you want to lead into introducing yourself. So, and be engaging, get a conversation going. Not necessarily trying to, you want to look casual about it. You want to look, but you just want to convey that you are kind of interested, which is what I'm going to get into next. And that second one would be, once you get her in the conversation, listen and be observant. Don't, one thing, let her talk. And don't step on what she's saying. People don't like that. That means it makes you look pushy. That makes you look rude. It makes it look like you don't appreciate what she has to say. Because let me tell you something. One of the biggest things that women and people in general want is to be appreciated. They want to be appreciated for their opinions, for what they say, not just for their physical looks, not just for their, for their wealth or economic status. They want to be appreciated as a person. So if you're going, so therefore be sure to listen. Don't be talking about yourself all the time. Be talking, listen to what she says. And not only that, now remember, the goal here is you're trying to get a phone number, you're trying to get a date. So therefore, be observant not only to what she says, but to her body language. Women speak a lot through body language. And the problem is with most men is that we have dog whistle. When it comes to women. Women have a dog whistle that only other women can hear. Because there's a lot of things that women will say and do. Women are a lot more subtle in general. There are some that are very forward, and thank God for those ladies. But most women, by and large, are a little more subtle in letting you know that they are interested. And by the way, the minute that you walked up and you started a conversation, the minute you started smiling at her, women are not stupid. They're used to being hit on. They're used to men approaching them. They know exactly what you're doing. Make no mistake, you are now on trial. They're going to see how you do, and whether or not they, and whether or not you are somebody they'd be interested in. So now, so if you have that same approach, that's actually a very healthy way to be. You're trying to see somebody you want to date or get to know better, and she's trying to see if you might be somebody that interests her. So that's a very fair exchange. But you need to watch what she says, especially, and women also are much more physically flirt, or physically let things be known through their body language. Is she flipping her hair? Is she giving you little side looks? Is she smiling? Is she giving the little laughs that really aren't appropriate, aren't fitting to what you're saying? The little giggly things. Is she giving you little compliments? All of these are signs of things that show that she is finding you interesting, and you need to key in on those. Now, if you're talking to somebody and she's just like giving you one or two word sentences, she's acting like she's kind of moving away from you. She's trying to act like you getting them, like she's trying to move away. Then you're probably barking up a wrong tree. She's not interested, and you should probably just politely just segue out of the conversation and move on. Now, another part of this talk, and this is where it gets a little tricky. You need to be flattering. Now, note I said flattering, not flirty. Even though really flattering is a form of flirting. But I say this for guys because some guys just don't seem to get that you shouldn't just come at something straight on. Don't make me mention like, her breasts or ass or something like that. And I do have to say that because there's some men stupid enough to do just that. No, be flattering and be subtly flattering. Segue into for something said, about her, mention a pretty woman and you're using her as an example. That's a very good one. If she gives a compliment, you can always segue into that. For instance, someone says, "Oh, I really like your hat." You say something like, hey, coming from a beautiful woman, that type of compliment is always appreciated. See what I did? That's a little tacky, a little rough, but you kind of, I work better when I'm actually involved. But you kind of get it. I slipped in a compliment without having to say it directly. Women love that type of thing. Also, don't just compliment her and flatter her, and this is a big mistake, on her physical attributes, her hair, her body, her eyes. Those are all good, by the way. Well, the eyes and the hair and the smile. Stay away from trying to compliment the body. That's probably going to get you knocked off quick. But, also flatter her as far as her conversation ability, her intelligence, her integrity if she brings something up in that. Like she will not, say I'm vegan. What I admire a person that's that concerned about animals. That's very compassionate of you. I admire that. Things like that. Those type of things, women love. They love when you flatter them by who they are, not just how they look. That'll get you in quicker than anything else. Now, one of the last things I'm gonna say about that is about this is that remember the goal is to try to get the phone number, and so you need to kind of work into that, and whether or not she's in a relationship. That's another important one. Slip that in there some way. Mention and also that you're not single. You got to kind of slip these things in the conversation, that you're not single. Find out if she's single. That's really important. You need to kind of do that right off the bat. And that you are available and interested. So at the end, maybe say, I'd love to keep talking to you. Would it be possible I get your phone number, or would that be too forward? I mean, I don't want to be too forward, but I really like to get your phone number. If you've been engaging and if you've been, look stable, then she's going to respond to this. Then you're going to get the phone number. And if you don't, hey, so what? Try again. Now, all the things that I've stated. Now, I want to state one thing that I hear a lot, and I was like, yeah, well, you want to get a woman, the most important thing you got is a big wallet. And yes, there are women out there, and there are men out there that are that narcissistic, that shallow and materialistic. There are gold diggers out there. However, if you find that, do you really want a woman like that? Is that what you want? Is someone that's only interested in you for your pocket, for the money you make? To me, what's the difference between, and if you got a woman that's not going to be interested in you because you don't have a lot of money, because you won't give her things. To me, isn't that a form of prostitution? I will be in a relationship with you. I will date you. I'll sleep with you. If you buy me things, if you give me pretty things, if you have money. I'm sorry, but to me, that's a form of prostitution. And is that what you're really interested in, a person like that? So if you run across that, they're not worth the time anyway. However, I will say this. Women, and most women are not looking for that. They'll even tell you they're not looking for that. What they're looking for is two things. They're looking for strength and stability. Stability. They're looking for somebody that they know can stand beside them, somebody that can be strong, somebody that can contribute, whether it be emotionally, financially, in whatever ways. That's what they're more looking for. So in looking for that stability, of course, finance can be a part of it, but it's only a small part of it, really. So what you need to convey out there is that you are a strong, confident man who's well put together. How do you do that? Well, by being confident, by being well dressed, by being engaging. All of these things are going to show you to be a strong man who has his own self-worth, and that right there is a major turn on for women. And like I said, if you have a sense of humor, even better. So it's basically, it comes all of this to being confident and being a gentleman. If I had to sum up all five, that's what it is. And throwing a little flirting in there. A little flattery and a little flirting, but doing it as a gentleman. That's really what it takes. And I'm telling you, if you do that, and even if you strike out a couple times, you are going to have reactions. You are going to get positive results. Women are there's some women are going to be very interested in that. And the ones that will be interested in what you're putting forward like that are the ones that you want to date. Okay? So that's about all I got to say on meeting and getting dates for women. I will be crossing this into this subject in other areas, like maybe first dates and how to better engage, and you know, and also, you know, about manners and all of that in future videos. But I think if you follow these things, then you will be, you know, you're going to be you'll do very well. But the biggest thing, once again, be confident. Know your self-worth, because when you know your self-worth, other people are going to sense your self-worth, and women are going to want that self. So, you know, put on your nice clothes, be confident, get out there and mingle with the ladies, and until I talk to you next time, stay pretty.